In memory of Eva Gore-Booth and Con Markievicz. The light of evening, Lissadell. Great windows open to the south. Two girls in silk kimonos, both beautiful, one a gazelle. But a raving autumn shears blossom from the summer's wreath. The older is condemned to death. Pardoned, drags out lonely years, conspiring among the ignorant. I know not what the younger dreams, some vague utopia, and she seems, when withered old and skeleton gaunt, an image of such politics. Many a time I think to seek one or the other out and speak of that old Georgian mansion, mix pictures of the mind, recall that table and the talk of youth. Two girls in silk kimonos, both beautiful, one a gazelle. Dear shadows, now you know it all the folly of a fight, with a common wrong or right. The innocent and the beautiful have no enemy but time. Arise and bid me strike a match, and strike another till time catch. Should the conflagration climb, run till all the sages know. We the great gazebo built, they convicted us of guilt. Bid me strike a match and blow. Death. Nor dread nor hope attend a dying animal. A man awaits his end, dreading and hoping all. Many times he died, many times rose again. A great man in his pride, confronting murderous men, casts derision upon supersession of breath. He knows death to the bone. Man has created death. A dialogue of self and soul. My soul, I summon to the winding ancient stair. Set all your mind upon the steep ascent, upon the broken, crumbling battlement, upon the breathless starlit air, upon the star that marks the hidden pole. Fix every wondering thought upon that quarter where all thought is done. Who can distinguish darkness from the soul? Myself. The consecrated blade upon my knees is Sato's ancient blade, still as it was, still razor keen, still like a looking glass, unspotted by the centuries. That flowering, silken old embroidery, torn from some court lady's dress, and round the wooden scabbard, bound and wound, can, tattered, still protect, faded, adorn. My soul. Why should the imagination of a man, long past his prime, remember things that are emblematical of love and war? Think of ancestral night that can, if but imagination scorn the earth, and intellect its wandering, to this and that, and t'other thing, deliver from the crime of death and birth. Myself. Motoshigé, third of his family, fashioned it 500 years ago. About it lie flowers from I know not what embroidery, hearts purple, and all these I set for emblems of the day against the tower emblematical of the night, and claim as by a soldier's right a charter to commit the crime once more. My soul. Such fullness in that quarter o'erflows and falls into the basin of the mind. that man is stricken deaf and dumb and blind, for intellect no longer knows. Is from the ought, or knower from the known, that is to say, ascends to heaven. Only the dead can be forgiven, but when I think of that, my tongue's a stone. Myself. A living man is blind and drinks his drop. What matter if the ditches are impure? What matter if I live it all once more? Endure that toil of growing up, the ignominy of boyhood, the distress of boyhood changing into man, the unfinished man and his pain brought face to face with his own clumsiness. The finished man among his enemies, how in the name of heaven can he escape that defiling and disfigured shape? The mirror of malicious eyes casts upon his eyes until at last he thinks that shape must be his shape. And what's the good of an escape if honour find him in the wintry blast? I am content to live it all again, and yet again, if it be life to pitch into the frog spawn of a blind man's ditch, a blind man battering blind men, or into that most fecund ditch of all, the folly that man does, or must suffer, if he woos a proud woman, not kindred of his soul. I am content to follow to its source every event in action or in thought, measure the lot, forgive myself the lot. When such as I cast out remorse, so great a sweetness flows into the breast, we must laugh and we must sing. We are blessed by everything. Everything we look upon is blessed. Blood and the moon. Blessed be this place, more blessed still this tower. A bloody, arrogant power rose out of the race, uttering, mastering it. Rose like these walls from these storm-beaten cottages. In mockery I have set a powerful emblem up, and sing it rhyme upon rhyme, in mockery of a time half dead at the top. Alexandria's was a beacon tower, and Babylon's an image of the moving heavens, a logbook of the sun's journey and the moon's. And Shelley had his towers, thought's crowned powers he called them once. I declare this tower is my symbol. I declare this winding, gyring, spiring treadmill of a stair is my ancestral stair, that Goldsmith and the Dean, Berkeley and Burke, have travelled there. Swift, beating on his breast in Sibylline frenzy blind, because the heart in his blood-sodden breast had dragged him down into mankind. Goldsmith deliberately sipping at the honeypot of his mind, and haughtier-headed Burke that proved the state a tree, that this unconquerable labyrinth of the birds, century after century, cast but dead leaves to mathematical equality. And God-appointed Berkeley that proved all things a dream, that this pragmatical, preposterous pig of a world, its Pharaoh that so solid seem, must vanish on the instant, if the mind but change its theme. Se va indignatio, and the labourer's hire. The strength that gives our blood and state magnanimity of its own desire, everything that is not God consumed with intellectual fire. The purity of the unclouded moon has flung its arrowy shaft upon the floor. 7 centuries have passed, and it is pure. The blood of innocence has left no stain. There, on blood-saturated ground, have stood soldier, assassin, executioner, whether for daily pittance, or in blind fear, or out of abstract hatred and shed blood, but could not cast a single jet thereon, odor of blood on the ancestral stair. And we that have shed none must gather there and clamour in drunken frenzy for the moon. Upon the dusty, glittering windows cling, and seem to cling upon the moonlit skies, tortoise-shell butterflies, peacock butterflies, a couple of night moths are on the wing, in every modern nation like the tower, half dead at the top. No matter what I said, for wisdom is the property of the dead, a something incompatible with life, and power, like everything that has the stain of blood, a property of the living. But no stain can come upon the visage of the moon when it has looked in glory from a cloud. Oil and blood. In tombs of gold and lapis lazuli, bodies of holy men and women exude miraculous oil, odor of violet. But under heavy loads of trampled clay lie bodies of the vampires full of blood. Their shrouds are bloody, and their lips are wet. Veronica's Napkin. The heavenly circuit, Berenice's hair, tent pole of Eden, the tent's drapery, symbolical glory of the earth and air, the Father and his angelic hierarchy, that made the magnitude and glory there, stood in the circuit of a needle's eye. Some found a different pole, and where it stood, a pattern on a napkin dipped in blood. Symbols. A storm-beaten old watchtower, a blind hermit rings the hour, all-destroying sword blade still, carried by the wandering fool. Gold-sewn silk on the sword blade, beauty and fool together laid. Spilt milk. We that have done and thought, that have thought and done, must ramble and thin out like milk spilt on stone. The 19th century and after. Though the great song return no more, there is keen delight in what we have, the rattle of pebbles on the shore, under the receding wave. Statistics. Those Platonists are a curse, he said. God's fire upon the wane, a diagram hung there instead, more women born than men. 3 movements. Shakespearean fish swam the sea, far away from land. Romantic fish swam in nets, coming to the hand. What are all those fish that lie, gasping on the strand? The 7 sages. The first. My great-grandfather spoke to Edmund Burke in Grason's house. The second. My great-grandfather shared a pothouse bench with Oliver Goldsmith once. The third. My great-grandfather's father talked of music, drank tar water with the Bishop of Cloyne. The fourth. But mine saw Stella once. The fifth. Whence came our thought? The sixth. From 4 great minds that hated Whiggery. The fifth. Burke was a Whig. The sixth. Whether they knew or not, Goldsmith and Burke, Swift and the Bishop of Cloyne, all hated Whiggery. But what is Whiggery? A levelling, rancorous, rational sort of mind that never looked out of the eye of a saint or out of a drunkard's eye. The 7th. All's Whiggery now, but we old men are massed against the world. The 1st. American colonies, Ireland, France, and India harried, and Burke's great melody against it. The second, Oliver Goldsmith sang what he had seen, roads full of beggars, cattle in the fields, but never saw the trefoil stained with blood, the avenging leaf those fields raised up against it. The fourth, the tomb of Swift wears it away. The third, a voice, soft as the rustle of a reed from cloyne that gathers volume, now a thunderclap. The sixth, what schooling had these four? The seventh, they walk the roads mimicking what they heard, as children mimic. They understood that wisdom comes of beggary. The Crazed Moon. Crazed through much childbearing, the moon is staggering in the sky. Moonstruck by the despairing glances of her wondering eye, we grope and grope in vain for children born of her pain. Children dazed or dead, when she in all her virginal pride first trod on the mountain's head, what stir ran through the countryside? Where every foot obeyed her glance, what manhood led the dance? Fly-catchers of the moon, our hands are blenched, our fingers seem but slender needles of bone, blenched by that malicious dream. They are spread wide that each may rend what comes in reach. Coole Park, 1929. I meditate upon a swallow's flight, upon an aged woman and her house, a sycamore and lime tree lost in night. Although that western cloud is luminous, great works constructed there in nature's spite, for scholars and for poets after us, thoughts long knitted into a single thought, a dance-like glory that those walls begot. There hide, before he had beaten into prose that noble blade the muses buckled on, there one that ruffled in a manly pose, for all his timid heart. There that slow man, that meditative man, John Synge, and those impetuous men, Shawe-Taylor and Hugh Lane, found pride established in humility, a scene well set, and excellent company. They came like swallows and like swallows went, and yet a woman's powerful character could keep a swallow to its first intent. And half a dozen in formation there that seemed to whirl upon a compass point, found certainty upon the dreaming air, the intellectual sweetness of those lines that cut through time or cross it with a shins. Here, traveller, scholar, poet, take your stand, when all those rooms and passages are gone, when nettles wave upon a shapeless mound, and saplings root among the broken stone, and dedicate, eyes bent upon the ground, back turned upon the brightness of the sun, and all the sensuality of the shade, a moment's memory to that laureled head. Coole and Ballylee, 1931. Under my window ledge the waters race, otters below and moorhens on the top, run for a mile undimmed in heaven's face, then darkening through dark Rafferty's cellar drop, run underground, rise in a rocky place, in cool domain, and there to finish up, spread to a lake and drop into a hole. What's water but the generated soul? Upon the border of that lake's a wood, now all dry sticks under a wintry sun, and in a copse of beeches there I stood, for nature's pulled her tragic buskin on, and all the rants a mirror of my mood. At sudden thunder of the mounting swan, I turned about and looked where branches break, the glittering reaches of the flooded lake. Another emblem there, that stormy white but seems a concentration of the sky, and, like the soul, it sails into the sight, and in the morning's gone, no man knows why, and is so lovely that it sets to right what knowledge, or its lack, had set awry, so arrogantly pure a child might think it can be murdered with a spot of ink. Sound of a stick upon the floor, a sound from somebody that toils from chair to chair, beloved books that famous hands have bound, old marble heads, old pictures everywhere, great rooms where travelled men and children found content or joy, a last inheritor, where none has reigned that lacked a name and fame, or out of folly into folly came. A spot whereon the founders lived and died seemed once more dear than life, ancestral trees or gardens rich in memory glorified, marriages, alliances, and families, and every bride's ambition satisfied, where fashion or mere fantasy decrees, man shifts about, all that great glory spent, like some poor Arab tribesman and his tent. We, with the last romantics, chose for theme traditional sanctity and loveliness. Whatever's written in what poet's name, the book of the people, whatever most can bless the mind of man or elevate a rhyme, but all is changed. That high horse riderless, though mounted in that saddle Homer rode, where the swan drifts upon a darkening flood. For Anne Gregory. Never shall a young man thrown into despair by those great honey-colored ramparts at your ear love you for yourself alone and not your yellow hair. But I can get a hair dye and set such color there, brown or black or carrot, that young men in despair may love me for myself alone and not my yellow hair. Heard an old religious man but yesternight declare that he had found a text to prove that only God, my dear, could love you for yourself alone and not your yellow hair. Swift's Epitaph. Swift has sailed into his rest, savage indignation there cannot lacerate his breast. Imitate him if you dare, world-besotted traveller, he served human liberty. At Algeciras, a meditation upon death. The heron-billed pale cattle birds that feed on some foul parasite of the Moroccan hawks and herds cross the narrow straits to light in the rich midnight of the garden trees till the dawn break upon those mingled seas. Often at evening, when a boy, would I carry to a friend, hoping more substantial joy did an older mind commend. Not such as are in Newton's metaphor, but actual shells of Ross's level shore. Greater glory in the sun, an evening chill upon the air, bid imagination run much on the great questioner. What he can question, what, if questioned, I can with a fitting confidence reply. The choice. The intellect of man is forced to choose perfection of the life or of the work. And if it take the second, must refuse a heavenly mansion raging in the dark. When all that story's finished, what's the news? In luck or out, the toil has left its mark, that old perplexity and empty purse, or the day's vanity, the night's remorse. Mohini Chatterjee. I asked if I should pray, but the Brahmin said, pray for nothing. Say every night in bed, I have been a king, I have been a slave. Nor is there anything, fool, rascal, knave, that I have not been. And yet upon my breast a myriad heads have lain. That he might set at rest a boy's turbulent days, Mohini Chatterjee spoke these, or words like these. I add, in commentary, old lovers yet may have all that time denied. Grave is heaped on grave, that they be satisfied. Over the blackened earth the old troops parade. Birth is heaped on birth, that such cannonade may thunder time away. Birth hour and death hour meet, or, as great sages say, men dance on deathless feet. Byzantium. The unpurged images of day recede. The emperor's drunken soldiery are abed. Night resonance recedes, night walker's song after great cathedral gong. A starlit or a moonlit dome disdains all that man is, all mere complexities, the fury and the mire of human veins. Before me floats an image, man or shade, shade more than man, more image than a shade. For Hades, bobbin bound in mummy cloth, may unwind the winding path, a mouth that has no moisture and no breath, breathless mouths may summon. I hail the Superman, I call it death in life and life in death. Miracle, bird, or golden handiwork, more miracle than bird or handiwork, planted on the starlit golden bough, can like the cocks of Hades crow, or by the moon embittered scorn aloud, in glory of changeless metal, common bird or petal, and all complexities of mire or blood. At midnight on the emperor's pavement flit flames that no faggot feeds, nor steel has lit, nor storm disturbs, flames begotten of flame, where blood-begotten spirits come, and all complexities of fury leave, dying into a dance, an agony of trance, an agony of flame that cannot singe a sleeve. Astraddle on the dolphin's mire and blood, spirit after spirit, the smithies break the flood, the golden smithies of the emperor, marbles of the dancing floor, break bitter furies of complexity, those images that yet fresh images beget, that dolphin torn, that gong tormented sea. The Mother of God. The threefold terror of love, a fallen flare, through the hollow of an ear, wings beating about the room, the terror of all terrors that I bore, the heavens in my womb. Had I not found content among the shows every common woman knows, chimney corner, garden walk, or rocky cistern where we tread the clothes and gather all the talk? What is this flesh I purchased with my pains, this fallen star my milk sustains, this love that makes my heart's blood stop, or strikes a sudden chill into my bones, and bids my hair stand up? Vacillation. Between extremities man runs his course. A brand, or flaming breath, comes to destroy all those antinomies of day and night. The body calls it death, the heart remorse. But if these be right, what is joy? A tree there is that from its topmost bough is half all glittering flame, and half all green, abounding foliage moistened with the dew, and half, and yet is all the scene, and half consume what they renew. And he that at his image hangs between that staring fury and the blind lush leaf may know not what he knows, but knows not grief. Get all the gold and silver that you can, satisfy ambition, or animate the trivial days and ram them with the sun, and yet upon these maxims meditate. All women dote upon an idle man, although their children need a rich estate. No man has ever lived that had enough of children's gratitude or woman's love. no longer in Lethean foliage caught, begin the preparation for your death, and from the 40th winter by that thought, test every work of intellect or faith, and everything that your own hands have wrought, and call those works extravagance of breath, that are not suited for such men as come proud, open-eyed, and laughing to the tomb. My 50th year had come and gone. I sat, a solitary man, in a crowded London shop, an open book, an empty cup, on the marble tabletop. While on the shop and street I gazed, my body of a sudden blaze, and 20 minutes more or less, it seemed so great my happiness, that I was blessed and could bless. Although the summer sunlight gild cloudy leafage of the sky, or wintry moonlight sink the field in storm-scattered intricacy, I cannot look thereon. Responsibility so weighs me down. Things said or done long years ago, or things I did not do or say, but thought that I might say or do, weigh me down. And not a day but something is recalled, my conscience or my vanity appalled. A rivery field spread out below, an odor of the new-mown hay. In his nostrils the great lord of Chow cried, casting off the mountain snow, "Let all things pass." Wheels by milk-white asses drawn, where Babylon or Nineveh rose, some conqueror drew rein and cried to battle-weary men, "Let all things pass." From man's blood-sodden heart are sprung those branches of the night and day, where the gaudy moon is hung. What's the meaning of all song? Let all things pass away. The soul, seek out reality, leave things that seem. The heart, what, be a singer born and lack a theme? The soul, Isaiah's coal, what more can man desire? The heart, struck dumb in the simplicity of fire. The soul, look on that fire, salvation walks within. The heart, what theme had Homer but original sin? Must we part, von Heugel, though much alike, for we accept the miracles of the saints and honor sanctity. The body of Saint Teresa lies undecayed in tomb, bathed in miraculous oil. Sweet odors from it come, healing from its lettered slab. Those selfsame hands, perchance, eternalized the body of a modern saint that once had scooped out Pharaoh's mummy. I, though heart might find relief, did I become a Christian man and choose for my belief what seems most welcome in the tomb, play a predestined part. Homer is my example, and his unchristened heart. The lion and the honeycomb, what has Scripture said? So get you gone, von Heugel, though with blessings on your head. Quarrel in old age. Where had her sweetness gone? What fanatics invent in this blind, bitter town, fantasy or incident, not worth thinking of, put her in a rage. I had forgiven enough that had forgiven old age. All lives that has lived, so much is certain, old sages were not deceived. Somewhere beyond the curtain of distorting days lives that lonely thing that shone before these eyes, targeted, trod like spring. The results of thought. Acquaintance, companion, one dear brilliant woman, the best endowed, the elect, all by their youth undone, all by that inhuman bitter glory wrecked. But I have straightened out ruin, wreck, and rack. I toiled long years, and at length came to so deep a thought, I can summon back all their wholesome strength. What images are these that turn dull-eyed away, or shift time's filthy load, straighten aged knees, hesitate or stay? What heads shake or nod? Gratitude to the unknown instructors. What they undertook to do, they brought to pass. All things hang like a drop of dew upon a blade of grass. Remorse for intemperate speech. I ranted to the knave and fool, but outgrew that school would transform the part. Fit audience found, but cannot rule my phonetic heart. I sought my betters, though in each fine manners, liberal speech, turn hatred into sport. Nothing said or done can reach my phonetic heart. Out of Ireland have we come, great hatred, little room, maimed us at the start. I carry from my mother's womb a phonetic heart. Stream and sun at Glendalough. Through intricate motions ran stream and gliding sun, and all my heart seemed gay. Some stupid thing that I had done made my attention stray. Repentance keeps my heart impure, but what am I that dare fancy that I can better conduct myself or have more sense than a common man? What motion of the sun or stream or eyelid shot the gleam that pierced my body through? What made me live like these that seem self-born, born anew?